and that their teacher is going to ask them what it represents. And their answer is that it represents the fertility ritual. And she says it's the image of the penis in our.
I just love the way she says it.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
yes,
The
she's wonderful.
wonderful, wonderful way
Poetic,
she
wasn't
says
it?
it. Just so poetic.
Yes. The image. Yes.
Tell me about who we're seeing on screen, who the actress is, Robin.
This is. You say, because I forgot.
This is
Diane
Diane
Cilento,
Cilento.
Yes,
And
who married Tony Shaffer
indeed,
and is now sadly a widow. She was once married to Sean Connery, and then she married Tony Shaffer. In fact, I think I'm right in saying that they actually met during this production.
they did indeed, and went to Australia. What, about a year later?
To Queensland.
Yes.
Started their whole
Into the middle
theatre,
of
didn't they?
nowhere in
Theatre in the middle of the
Queensland,
bush.
yes. And as far as I know, she's there now. Her father, of course, was a very, very distinguished surgeon, Australian. So, in a sense, I think by birth she is Australian, although the name is more Italian.
He was an Italian.
Well, the name is
Australian,
Italian, of course,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
The church and the house which they're in now are both located at Amworth and are both easily visitable if anybody is interested. And the deserted church still does look exactly like
The
that.
cottage is right away across.
Exactly, sure. You can literally throw a stone at it from the church.
I envy you, you've both been back. I never have.
It was strange. It was so strange, going back, especially for me, going back to this place, and to the
To Burrowhead.
the yard, the boneyard, as it were. It's all still there. It's all. You close your eyes and it's all happening again.
That's another clue there of what their religion is. The things that have been written on the blackboard.
Which you don't see, unfortunately, too clearly. You
Well,
don't see the whole
No,
of it.
it's just a little, it's a little soupçon of.
Yes, a long
of a
puzzle,
clue,
isn't it?
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Edward, tell me something about this character, because it would be very easy to play Howie simply as uptight and difficult and unsympathetic, and you're walking this very fine line between him being, a man of extreme virtue and and a bigot. And we were speaking before, and I said it's something to do with the way he physically holds himself that gives you that sense of tension. Tell me what you thought of the character, how you found your way into it.
Well, actors work in different ways, and some people will will go for the walk, other people will go for the sound of the voice. I actually had this uniform made one size too small. Well, it was made, and then it was taken in far more to make him as stiff as possible. I know that I found it very difficult to sit down when I was wearing it, and I couldn't bend down. This whole thing was he was held back all the time. And the other thing that was astonishingly important about the character was to make sure that his religion was the most important thing in his life. His following Jesus, his whole life was centered on this, and it went into his police work as well. So in a way, he was a damn good policeman. But at the same time, I wouldn't like to have been, one of his junior officers. I think one of those. Chris has always said that it's his favourite movie. I certainly, it's one of mine, and it's certainly my favourite character ever to play.
There is something just about the physical set of your body. You said, for example, the uniform is slightly too tight, but it's everything. It's right down to the way you're holding your jaw, and it's almost like the haircut seems slightly. Everything in him seems.
You do. If you restrict your body even slightly, then it affects every part of your body. It affects your head, and from one thing the rest follows, as it were.
Was Edward always the first choice for this role, Robin?
Well, no.
Actors never are.
He wasn't actually. But one of the reasons was that I had a friend and neighbour whom when this was first written, I thought would be good for it, which is Michael York. And he couldn't do it. And then Peter and Tony suggested Edward, and I, of course, had seen him on television, and I thought at once what a brilliant suggestion it was.
I think, if I may so speak, as another actor, that Edward's performance in this is quite remarkable, because as far as I'm concerned, you're not looking at an actor acting. And with Michael, whom I know very well and like very much, he's not anywhere near as strong a physical presence as you are. And he would have been a bit more willowy, or whatever the phrase is, a little bit more sort of...
Looking back, I can't visualize how he would have done it, actually.
He would have done it.
He would have done it, but I don't think there is any actor who could have done it better than Edward.
No, absolutely not.
I think I'll retire now.
I don't think anybody in the film could have done it any better than the people that you've got.
No, I agree.
To be honest.
Now, let's just, because this is going to be a recurrent theme, but we need to clear it up. When you cut the film originally, you cut, as we said, this version that we're watching now, this 99-minute cut. We know it was cut down to 87 minutes, and the story is that Michael Dealey, who was the producer, who'd taken over at British Line from Peter Snell, couldn't find a distributor for the film and therefore cut it down to sell it. Are you all agreed that that's what happened? Christopher, you sort of hinted towards darker motives.
Well, I did. I have no proof whatsoever. It's merely suspicion. It's a kind of a tradition in the entertainment industry, and particularly in films. And I'm not now casting aspersions upon Mr. Dealey or anybody else, for that matter, but when somebody takes over a new job from somebody else, the first thing they usually do is cancel their predecessor's production plans. Now, that didn't happen. But what shattered me, as I've said many times, and of course it's in my book, and it's in the books about the Wicker Man, was that I went with my wife and my then agent to see the film, not what we're looking at now, but the 80-odd minute version. I went to see it in the projection room of British Lion, in Broadwick House, I think it was. Saw the film, and I thought, good heavens, this is a marvellous film, but there's so much missing. So much wonderful stuff missing, and we'll come to a bit of that later. And I thought, oh dear. Anyway, I thought, well, we'll be able to put that right with the negative and the outtakes and so on and so forth. Went upstairs to say thank you to Michael Dealey for showing us the film. He didn't get up when my wife walked in, which is an inevitable sign of lack of manners. And I wasn't impressed. And he said, well, what do you think of the film? And I said, well, I think it's extremely impressive film. My wife said the same, and my agent, the late Dennis Selinger, said the same. He said, I think it's an extraordinary movie, and we should be all very, very proud of it. And Michael's answer was, I think it's one of the 10 worst films I've ever seen. The moment he said that, I realized that there was a possibility, no more than that, a possibility that it wouldn't be seen for whatever motive. Well, to begin with, it wasn't. It wasn't given a press show, as I'm sure everybody knows. Why not? It wasn't given any publicity. Why not? It was buried. I did something I've never done in my entire life. I wrote to all the critics I knew in London, because eventually it came on as the second half of the double bill. I think it was the Gaumont and the Haymarket, wasn't it? I think it was. It was one of those cinemas. And second half to Don't Look Now, which was another British Lion film, and a very good one. And I rang up all the critics and I said, look, I've never done this before, but as you haven't seen the film, please go and see it, and if you want me to pay for your seats, I'd be only too delighted. Well, almost all the critics did go, and the reviews were extraordinary. I can almost quote some of them. And one said, in fact more than one, this is a better film than Don't Look Now. Well, that's a matter of opinion. But I still believe, and I have no proof, absolutely none, I still believe that somewhere the negative and the outtakes of the Wicker Man still exist. Now, I've been told, because Robin went and had a look, Tony Shaffer had a look, Peter Snell had a look. I didn't. I wasn't in a position to do this. But they all searched laboratories and, all the various places where films are kept in studios and everywhere else. No sign, absolutely none. And I was told this, and then sometime later I was told that Peter Snell had been shown a hole in a road where they were digging, somewhere near Shepperton, I suppose. And there were many, many cans of film in this hole. And somebody there, maybe the foreman, maybe one of the workmen, I don't know, said, "Oh, by the way, the Wicker Man's down there." Now, I don't know if it's true or not. I've no idea. As I said, I have no proof. But I feel this is immensely important, which is why I've gone on at length about it. I think it's absolutely disgraceful for the negative of any film to disappear, and the outtakes as well. And I still believe to this day that someone knows what happened to them. It can't have been an accident. You don't just lose how many cans, Robin?
I don't know, 20 or so.
You can't just lose 20 cans of film. And I think it's somewhere under another title or under no title at all. That's my own personal feeling about it. And as I said many, many times, I have no proof. I just feel that this happened, and I'm not going to go into the matter any further. I have my own opinions. Some people share them. Other people think I'm wrong. I've said this at some considerable length because I think it's enormously important. One of the best British pictures ever made should not only be cut to bits, but that when you want to re-edit it, I was quite prepared to pay for it to be re-edited and mixed, and said so, if you recall, Robin. I think it's an absolute disgrace and a shame on the British film industry, with a major company like British Lion, that a film should disappear 30 years ago, nearly, and never be seen again. How does a film disappear unless it's deliberate? I mean, it could be a mistake, but I personally have my doubts.
It's worth saying here that the reason we are now able to watch what is the restored version is that after the film had been cut to 87 minutes and the negative had been lost, a complete print of it was found in the offices of Roger Corman. And Robin, you restored this version from that print, is that correct?
Yes, actually the sequence of events, I think, was this. My director's cut was probably the 102 minutes. It went to Roger Corman to decide whether he wanted to distribute the film. He said yes, he did, and he offered, I think, $50,000, which wasn't as much money as Mr. Dealey and Mr. Spikings felt the film should get. He justified that by saying he was going to spend a lot of money on the distribution. I think he was being the perfect distributor. He was famous for this kind of film. Anyway, his editor kept the print. So when we wanted to restore the film to its full length, we had to go to him. I'm very lucky to find the print was there, in order to restore the film with the missing scenes. Mm-hmm. However, after the film had arrived in his care, Roger Corman had sent a letter to Peter Snell saying he thought that certain cuts were worth making. One of them was the apple scene, could be cut shorter, and various other small cuts. Mm-hmm. And he was quite specific about them. Mm-hmm. And we made those cuts, and that's the 99-minute version.
But that's the version that he had in his vault.
No, it's not. He had the 102-minute version. But we took, remember, all we did from that version, we used it as a negative, an internegative. Mm-hmm. And we took those scenes out, and we restored what, in effect, we had cut back in England. That was my final cut. My final cut was then cut again back in England by Mr. Dealey when he took out the 2 nights and just put 1 night, and took Willow's Dance from the second night and put it in the first night, and took Christopher's scene with the snails out altogether. And he took Gently Johnny, the song, out altogether. And he took the opening out altogether. So that's how it came down from 102 to 99.
Are you saying, and this is crucial, that there is a print somewhere that has the apple sequence, which Christopher...
Yes.
You think there is?
Yes,
there must be somewhere, because when we come to it, we can go into this in slightly more detail if necessary, but Now, that is the exterior of my home, Summerhouse home. As you can see, there are palm trees there because it's the Gulf Stream.